Ladies and gentlemen, ignore distractions and achieve success, but you won't reach it by looking left and right. Stay focused. Stop comparing. People may talk, setbacks may come, but they don't control your destiny. God does. You created to chase noise, but to follow purpose. Every distraction is a detour from your calling. So fix your eyes forward. Speak victory, walk in confidence, and keep showing up. What's meant for you is coming. Stay faithful, stay focused, and watch success follow. Prioritizing personal growth over comparison is one of the most powerful decisions you can make for your life. We live in a world where it's easier than ever to compare yourself to others. Social media, television, and even casual conversations can make you feel like you're behind, like you're not doing enough, like you're not enough. But the truth is, comparison is a thief. It steals joy, peace, motivation, and clarity. You can't become who you were created to be by constantly watching what someone else is doing. Your journey is yours alone, and it deserves your full attention. When you prioritize personal growth, you're saying, I choose to become the best version of me, not a copy of someone else. That simple shift in mindset is transformational. It means you begin to measure success by internal standards rather than external benchmarks. You stop looking sideways and start looking inward. You start asking, am I better than I was yesterday? Instead of, am I better than them and them? That's where real growth begins. It's not about being the best in the room. It's about being better than the version of you that walked in yesterday. Growth requires focus, and that kind of focus means turning down the noise that comparison creates. When you're watching other people, you begin to doubt your own gifts. You'll see someone else's talent and think you're not talented. You'll see their timeline and feel like you're behind. But God didn't make you to follow their timeline. He made you for your own. The seeds planted in your life will bloom when the season is right. Not sooner, not later. So stop trying to rush your growth just because someone else seems ahead. Trust that your pace is purposeful. Personal growth is a quiet, intentional process. It happens when no one is watching. It happens in the hours you spend developing your craft, in the books you read, in the prayers you whisper, and in the disciplines you build. It's not flashy. It's not about posting your progress online. It's about becoming strong in private so you can stand tall in public. When you choose growth, you're investing in a future version of yourself that will thank you for not giving up, for staying focused, for not getting lost in comparison. Sometimes comparison comes disguised as inspiration. You look at someone's success and think, I want that too. And while inspiration can motivate you, it becomes comparison when it makes you feel less than. Be careful with what you let influence you. Not everything that looks good on the outside feels good on the inside. What works for someone else might not be meant for you, and that's okay. You're not in competition. You're in a calling. What's yours will come when you stop chasing and start growing. Choosing personal growth means learning to be patient with yourself. Growth isn't always a straight path. There are setbacks, plateaus, and slow seasons. But just because it doesn't look like progress doesn't mean it isn't happening. A seed doesn't sprout the day after it's planted. It needs time, care, and faith. In the same way your development takes time. Celebrate the small steps, the quiet wins, the internal changes that no one else sees. That's the soil where greatness grows. You also have to learn to silence the inner critic that comparison awakens. That voice that says, you're not doing enough, you'll never make it. A look at them, you should be further by now. That voice is lying. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. And you're doing better than you think. The fact that you care about growing, that you're willing to put in the work, means you're already on the right path. Don't let a temporary feeling make you question a permanent purpose. When you stop comparing and start growing, you start living with clarity. Your energy isn't scattered. You're not trying to be everything to everyone. You're not chasing trends. You're rooted in who you are. That kind of alignment leads to peace. You know what you're about. You know where you're going. And that confidence allows you to move with boldness, not hesitation. Because when you're focused on becoming your best self, you don't have time to worry about what others are doing. There's a freedom that comes with letting go of comparison. You start to appreciate your journey more. You're not resentful of other people's success because you know it doesn't take away from your own. You begin to cheer others on genuinely, not from a place of insecurity, but from a place of confidence. You stop needing validation from the crowd because you've already approved your own progress. That's what growth does. It sets you free from needing to prove yourself to anyone else. Focusing on personal growth also helps you discover your true identity. Comparison can blur the lines of who you are. You start picking up habits, goals, even values that don't belong to you. But when you center your life around becoming your best self, you start shedding what isn't yours. You become more authentic, more grounded, more joyful. That's where the real success lies. Not in applause, but in alignment. Not in status, but in self-awareness. There's something powerful about someone who knows who they are and stays in their lane. They move differently. They speak differently. They don't need to compete because they're complete. That kind of power only comes from growth. Not from chasing trends, not from copying others, but from doing the deep personal work that no one else can do for you. You were created with unique gifts, and the only way to truly develop them is by staying focused on your own path. Eliminating distractions to protect your peace is one of the most essential disciplines in a world filled with noise. Every day, your attention is being pulled in 1,000 different directions. Notifications buzz, people demand your time, your thoughts run wild, and the pressure to respond to everything can feel overwhelming. But you weren't designed to live in chaos. You were created to carry peace, to walk with clarity, and to operate with purpose. And to do that, you have to be intentional about what you allow into your space, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Distractions don't always look like trouble. Sometimes they come disguised as opportunity. They look like busy schedules, endless meetings, people-pleasing, or the constant need to be online and updated. But if it's not helping you grow, if it's not feeding your purpose, it's a distraction. Just because something is urgent doesn't mean it's important. And just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean you have to. You have to know what matters to you and build boundaries around it like your life depends on it, because it does. Peace isn't passive. It doesn't just show up. It's something you have to fight for. It's something you have to guard. And the biggest enemy to your peace isn't always adversity. It's distraction. When your mind is cluttered, when your schedule is packed with things that don't matter, when your energy is drained by things you weren't even called to, you lose sight of what's really important. You start reacting instead of responding. You start surviving instead of living. And you drift from your purpose without even realizing it. What habits are stealing your time? What thoughts keep you anxious and unfocused? Once you identify the distractions, you can start doing something about them. That might mean turning off your phone for a few hours. That might mean saying a no more often, even if it disappoints people. That might mean unfollowing accounts that make you question your worth. That might mean creating a morning routine that sets the tone for your whole day. Whatever it looks like, make the choice to protect your peace like it's sacred. Because it is. You weren't created to be available to everyone and everything all the time. Constant availability is not a badge of honor. It's a fast track to burnout. You need stillness. You need silence. You need space to think, to breathe, to connect with what really matters. That space isn't wasted time. It's where creativity is born. It's where clarity returns. It's where your soul gets refreshed. And when you create space by eliminating distractions, you begin to hear your own thoughts again. You begin to hear God's voice again. You begin to recognize what's truly worth your time. So many people live exhausted not because they're doing too much, but because they're doing too much of the wrong things. They're distracted by the demands of others, caught in cycles of comparison, or trapped in routines that have no meaning. But life isn't about staying busy, it's about being intentional. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Choose wisely. Choose what builds you, what nourishes your soul, what aligns with your values and your goals. That's how you protect your peace, by being intentional with what you give your energy to. And don't be afraid to disappoint people. That's part of eliminating distractions. Not everyone will understand your boundaries. Not everyone will like that you're no longer available 24/7. But you're not here to please people. You're here to live on purpose. If someone truly values you, they'll respect your need for space and focus. And if they don't, that's okay too. Letting go of distractions sometimes means letting go of relationships that no longer serve your growth. It's not personal, it's necessary. You also have to be mindful of mental distractions. Your thoughts are powerful. What you focus on shapes how you feel, and how you feel shapes what you do. If your mind is filled with worry, doubt, fear, or negativity, you won't be able to operate in peace. That's why it's so important to take your thoughts captive. Don't let your mind run wild with every anxious thought. Train it to focus on truth. Speak peace over yourself. Practice gratitude. Meditate on what's good. Fill your mind with things that bring clarity, not confusion. Another major distraction is the need for constant approval. If you're always seeking validation, you'll never find peace. You'll always be adjusting who you are to fit someone else's expectations. But you don't need permission to walk in purpose. You don't need applause to move forward. You are already enough. You are already worthy. You are already chosen. The moment you stop chasing validation is the moment you start living in peace. Because peace isn't found in people. It's found in being aligned with your calling. Protecting your peace also means making time for rest. In a culture that glorifies hustle, rest can feel lazy. But rest is holy. Rest is powerful. Rest is productive. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give your best when you're running on fumes. Take care of your body. Take care of your soul. Make space to do nothing, to just be, to breathe. That stillness isn't wasted. It's where you reconnect with who you are and why you started. Sometimes distractions come from within. Your own doubts, your own insecurities, your own fears can become the loudest voices in the room. But you have to remind yourself, just because a thought is loud doesn't mean it's true. Speak life over yourself. Declare peace even when you feel pressure. You show up, you do the work, and you let the results come when they're meant to. That's not passivity. That's faith. Faith says, even if I can't see it, I believe something good is coming out of this. Faith says, my job is to sow. God's job is to grow. Consistency doesn't always feel exciting, but it's powerful. It's what builds habits. It's what builds trust. When people know you're consistent, they know they can count on you. And even more importantly, you begin to know you can count on yourself. You're not just chasing feelings or waiting for inspiration. You're building something steady. That kind of foundation can carry you through anything. Because when storms come, and they will, it's the consistent who stay grounded. The ones who've been practicing discipline, patience, and focus, they're the ones who endure. One of the biggest enemies of consistency is discouragement. It creeps in quietly when progress feels slow. It whispers that you're wasting your time, that nothing is working, that you should give up, But discouragement is a liar. It never tells the full story. It doesn't see the seeds planted, the growth happening beneath the surface, the momentum being built. When you feel discouraged, remind yourself of how far you've come. Look at the little wins. Celebrate the progress, no matter how small. Because consistency isn't about perfection. It's about not giving up. Another enemy of consistency is comparison. It makes you feel like your pace isn't good enough. Like someone else's success makes your journey less valuable. But someone else's chapter 20 doesn't mean your chapter 5 is a failure. You're on your own path and it's unfolding in its own time. Trust that. Honor that. Stay in your lane and focus on what you can control. The only race worth running is the one that moves you closer to your purpose. The only competition is who you were yesterday. Staying consistent also requires clarity. You need to know what you're working toward. When your vision is clear, your steps become intentional. You're not just moving, you're moving with direction. And when obstacles show up, and they will, your vision helps you stay the course. You remember why you started. You remember what you're building. That clarity fuels your consistency. It gives you something to hold on to when everything else feels uncertain. And in a world full of distraction, clarity is a superpower. The beauty of trusting the process is that it changes you along the way. Even before the results come, you become stronger, wiser, more disciplined. You start to value the journey, not just the destination. You learn to enjoy the process, to find peace in progress, to stay grounded in the present while working toward the future. That kind of growth can't be rushed. It can't be hacked. It has to be lived. And when you live it with consistency, you become unshakable. Because you're not moved by the highs or lows, you're rooted in something deeper, something solid, something lasting. Staying rooted in purpose, not public opinion, is one of the greatest acts of freedom you can choose. In a time where everyone has a voice, a platform, and an opinion about what you should be doing with your life, it takes courage to tune out the noise and stay true to the calling inside you. Purpose isn't something that can be voted on. It's not up for debate. It's something planted deep within you by design. And when you anchor yourself to it, you begin to live with clarity and peace no matter what others think or say. Public opinion is fickle. One day people cheer you on. The next they question everything you do. If your identity is tied to their applause, then their criticism will crush you. But when your identity is rooted in purpose, you don't waver. You don't waver. You don't need constant validation to know you're on the right path. You don't need everyone's approval to keep moving forward. You're not led by popularity. You're led by conviction. And that conviction gives you strength to stand when others doubt, to continue when others question, to persist even when it's not understood. The danger of living for public opinion is that it leads to a fragmented life. You end up changing who you are depending on who's watching. You start editing yourself, shrinking your dreams, diluting your voice just to fit into someone else's expectation. But you weren't created to fit in. You were created to stand out, to walk in your unique calling with boldness. Every time you betray your purpose to please others, you disconnect from your own truth. But when you stay rooted in what you were born to do, you walk in alignment, and that alignment brings peace. Purpose gives you direction. It doesn't always make the path easier, but it makes the path clearer. When you know your why, you can handle any what. You're not swayed by every opinion, trend, or pressure because you know where you're going. That kind of clarity is powerful. It helps you filter opportunities, relationships, and decisions through a deeper lens. Just because something looks good doesn't mean it's good for your purpose. Just because others are doing it doesn't mean it's right for your journey. Purpose keeps you focused, grounded, and intentional. It's tempting to chase public opinion because it feels good to be liked. We all want to be accepted. We all want to feel seen. But that desire can become a trap if it pulls you away from what truly matters. People may praise you for things that don't fulfill you. They may support a version of you that isn't authentic. And if you keep performing for their approval, you'll end up building a life that looks successful on the outside but feels empty on the inside. Fulfillment doesn't come from applause. It comes from living in alignment with your God-given purpose. When you live for purpose, you understand that not everyone will get it. Some people won't see the vision. Some people will question your decisions. Some people will walk away. And that's okay. Purpose isn't always popular, but the cost of pleasing everyone is too high. It costs your peace, your identity, your joy. You weren't created to be everything to everyone. You were created to be faithful to the mission inside you. And the more you embrace that, the more confident you become in walking your path, even if you have to walk it alone for a season. Purpose protects you from comparison. When you know who you are and what you're called to do, you stop measuring your worth by someone else's achievements. You don't feel threatened by their success because you're secure in your lane. You don't have to compete because you're complete. Someone else's win isn't your loss. Someone else's timing isn't your delay. When you stay rooted in purpose, you run your own race with grace, knowing that everything meant for you will find you at the right time, in the right way, without striving. Staying rooted in purpose also helps you endure difficult seasons. When challenges come, when doors close, when things don't go as planned, you don't give up because you remember why you started. Purpose becomes your anchor. It keeps you from drifting when emotions run high. It keeps you steady when circumstances shake. It reminds you that setbacks don't cancel the calling. Delays don't define your destiny. The process may be painful, but the purpose is still alive, still working, still unfolding in ways you can't yet see. Living with purpose means being intentional about your circle. The people you surround yourself with will either water your purpose or wither it. Choose relationships that support your growth, that challenge you to rise, that hold you accountable to your potential. Not everyone can go where you're going, and that's not rejection, it's redirection. Sometimes separation is necessary for elevation. When you let go of trying to please everyone, you make space for the right voices to speak into your life. Voices that align with your purpose, not your performance. Purpose also requires honesty. You can't fake alignment. You can't pretend your way into peace. If you're living a life that looks good but feels wrong, it's time to realign. Ask yourself hard questions. What drives your decisions, purpose, or pressure? Are you doing this because it's right for you or because it looks right to others? What would you do if no one ever applauded it? What would you pursue if no one ever posted about it? The answers to those questions reveal where your heart is anchored. The journey of staying rooted in purpose is not about perfection. It's about progression. It's about showing up each day with integrity, with intention, with a commitment to live a life that's true to who you are. You won't get it right every time. You'll make mistakes. You'll learn. But as long as you're living from a place of purpose, you're on the right path. Because purpose doesn't demand perfection. It calls for authenticity, for growth, for courage to stay true even when it's hard. Public opinion will always shift. People will always have something to say. But the only voice that really matters is the one that speaks to your spirit, the one that whispers truth in quiet moments, the one that reminds you that you were created on purpose for a purpose. When you live from that place, you move differently. You speak with authority. You lead with clarity. You no longer chase approval. You walk in assurance. Because when you know who you are, you don't need permission to show up fully, boldly, and completely as yourself.